Every year in the NFL draft, hundreds of names get called, but most are forgotten in a flash, buried on depth charts, out of the league in 2 years. But every now and then, a player slips through the cracks and shocks the entire NFL. They weren't supposed to start, weren't even supposed to stick around, but they didn't just make it. They became stars, franchise changers, legends. These are 10 insane draft steals that shocked the NFL. Let's start with a modern-day monster at number 10, Maxx Crosby. He wasn't from Alabama, not from Ohio State. He came from Eastern Michigan. Most scouts didn't even know his name. Maxx Crosby was seen as too skinny, too raw, too small to survive in the trenches of the NFL. They said he'd get eaten alive by pro tackles. But the Raiders took a flyer, a fourth-rounder, and what they got? An all-pro menace. Crosby didn't just hang on to a roster spot. He exploded for 11 sacks as a rookie. He now leads the league in hustle, motor, and mayhem, with 59.5 career sacks in just 6 seasons. Top 3 in QB pressures since 2021. And his mindset? He wakes up at 4 a.m. He trains like a psycho. He's not chasing stats, he's chasing greatness. The league slept on him. Now, they can't block him. Let's flip to the offensive side of the ball, and a 5th-round wide receiver who lit up the league, Stefon Diggs. 5 rounds went by, and Stefon Diggs was still waiting. Most teams didn't think he was fast enough or big enough. The Vikings took a flyer in the 5th round and landed a game breaker. He wasn't flashy coming out of Maryland. No combine invite, no buzz, just a chip on his shoulder. Stefon Diggs helped turn Minnesota into a playoff team, linking up with Adam Thielen to form one of the NFL's top duos. But his real rise came after the trade. When he paired up with Josh Allen in Buffalo, fireworks. Diggs exploded for 1,535 yards and 8 touchdowns in year 1. He led the entire NFL in receptions and yards. First team All-Pro. Then 4 straight Pro Bowls. Not bad for pick number 146. But what if I told you our next guy was drafted 51 picks later and made the Hall of Fame? Terrell Davis. 6th round, pick 196, and one of the baddest men to ever carry the football. Terrell Davis hit the NFL like a sledgehammer. From the moment he stepped onto the field, he ran with anger, power, and purpose. He earned Offensive Rookie of the Year, then followed it up with one of the greatest rushing seasons ever. 2,008 yards, 21 touchdowns, and a league MVP trophy in 1998. That same year, he torched the Packers in the Super Bowl. 3 touchdowns and a Finals MVP to go with it. 2 rings, 2 Offensive Player of the Year awards, and a gold jacket to seal it all. He retired early after knee injuries, but his impact? Hall of Fame locked. Davis ran through defenses, but this next guy, he got in their heads. Richard Sherman. Wide receiver turned cornerback, 5th-round pick, and one of the most feared mouths and minds in football history. Richard Sherman didn't just shut down receivers, he broke quarterbacks. Ask Michael Crabtree. Sherman talked nonstop, he played even louder, and when the lights were brightest, he showed up. Drafted out of Stanford after beefing with Jim Harbaugh, Sherman brought the same chip to Seattle. Pete Carroll rolled the dice and landed a defensive architect. Sherman became the vocal leader of the Legion of Boom. During one 3-year stretch, quarterbacks targeting him posted a lower passer rating than if they just spiked the ball into the turf. That's how dominant he was. He didn't just talk, he turned Seattle into a nightmare for opposing offenses. Super Bowl champion, multiple-time All-Pro, the face of a defense that came one play short of back-to-back titles. Hall of Fame? He's already got a seat waiting. Now we head back to Denver and a 7th-round pick that broke records. Shannon Sharpe. 7th round, 192nd overall. From Savannah State to the Hall of Fame. Shannon Sharpe wasn't supposed to make it, but he didn't just make the league, he changed it. Sharpe helped Denver win back-to-back Super Bowls in the late 90s, forming a dynasty with Elway and Terrell Davis. Then, he left for Baltimore and won a 3rd ring with the Ravens. 8 Pro Bowls, 4-time first-team All-Pro, over 10,000 receiving yards as a tight end. Only 4 others have ever done it. He was too fast for linebackers, too strong for corners, and always talking. Sharpe redefined the tight end position, then redefined sports media, for better or worse. Hall of Fame in 2011, legend status secured. But our next guy, he didn't even start his career as a wide receiver. Julian Edelman, Kent State quarterback, undersized, 7th round pick, and somehow one of the greatest playoff receivers ever. Julian Edelman was never supposed to see the field, not in New England, not with Brady. But when he did, he never gave that spot back. By year 5, he exploded. 105 catches, 1,056 yards, from role player to Brady's go-to guy. But it was in the playoffs where he became a legend. 26 receptions, 388 yards, and a Super Bowl MVP performance in 2018, highlighted by a circus catch that saved the Patriots' season. 3 rings, multiple clutch moments, and one of the most iconic postseason resumes in NFL history. He ranks 2nd all-time in postseason receiving yards, only behind Jerry Rice. He never made a Pro Bowl, but nobody cared, because Edelman showed up when it mattered most. And speaking of 7th round quarterbacks, the next guy, he was picked dead last. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. Final pick, 262nd overall. Most thought he'd be a camp arm, a practice squad clipboard holder. Instead, he became quarterback 1. When the 49ers were down to their 3rd stringer, Brock Purdy stepped in. And he lit the NFL on fire. He went 8-1 as a rookie starter. 7 straight wins to end the regular season, 2 more in the playoffs, and almost a Super Bowl berth, until that elbow injury in the NFC title game. But he wasn't done. In year 2, he came back stronger and took the 49ers all the way to the Super Bowl. He's efficient, he's unshaken, he's a 7th rounder playing like a franchise quarterback. If he wins a ring, he might climb to number 1 on this list someday. And speaking of 49ers quarterbacks, our next guy already did that. Joe Montana, 3rd round pick, 82nd overall, and one of the winningest quarterbacks in NFL history. Joe Montana wasn't supposed to be a superstar. He didn't have the biggest arm, wasn't the fastest guy in the room, but he had ice in his veins. 4 Super Bowl rings, 2 MVPs, 8 Pro Bowls, 5-time All-Pro. And when it mattered most, Joe Cool delivered. In the biggest moments, with the brightest lights, he never blinked. He led the league in completion percentage 5 times, and twice led it in touchdowns. And when he teamed up with Jerry Rice, forget about it. Montana made pressure look peaceful. He ran Bill Walsh's offense to perfection and helped redefine the West Coast offense as the NFL's gold standard. He led the 49ers through one of the most dominant decades of any team in league history. And while he wasn't a late-round flyer or undrafted long shot, he's still one of the greatest draft steals of all time. Redraft the 79 class, Montana goes number 1, no question. That's what makes him a draft steal. Because when a 3rd rounder wins 4 rings, that's not luck, that's legacy. But he wasn't bagging groceries like the next guy. Kurt Warner, undrafted, cut, shipped to Europe, written off. And then, Kurt Warner became the MVP of the NFL. This man's path to greatness didn't just take the scenic route. It went through arena football, NFL Europe, and backroom rejection. He barely played in college. The Packers cut him in training camp. He was stocking shelves in a supermarket, just hoping for another shot. And somehow, he got one. The Rams took a gamble, but even they didn't believe. They tried to leave him unprotected in the expansion draft. The Browns passed. Then Trent Green got hurt, and Warner took over. 5,000 plus yards, 41 touchdowns, NFL MVP, Super Bowl champion. He built the greatest show on turf from scratch. He didn't just survive the moment, he owned it. Warner would play in 3 Super Bowls total, and if not for Brady's breakout and Santonio Holmes' toe tap, he might have had 3 rings to show for it. Hall of Famer, supermarket shelf to Super Bowl MVP. One of the greatest rises in league history. But this list's number 1? No, it's not Tom Brady, who is the absolute number 1. This guy, he was a bit crazy, in more ways than one. Antonio Brown. Let's set the chaos aside for a second. Forget the meltdowns, the music videos, the shirtless exits, and remember who Antonio Brown was. A 6th-round pick who became uncoverable. AB was drafted 195th overall in 2010, and at his peak, he was the best receiver in football. He torched corners, he juked safeties, and somehow always got 2 feet down on the sideline. From 2013 to 2018, Brown went on a historic run. 6 straight 1,200-plus yard seasons, near 1,700 yards in 2014, then 1,834 the very next year. Those aren't good numbers. Those are Hall of Fame numbers. He was fearless over the middle, explosive after the catch, and dangerous in the return game, too. Only Hines Ward sits ahead of him in Steelers history for catches, yards, and touchdowns. On talent alone, first ballot Hall of Famer. But his off-field chaos derailed it all. He left the league on his own terms, and not in a good way. Still, for a 6th-rounder, there's never been anyone like him. 10 players, 10 impossible stories, 10 draft picks that changed everything. Some were overlooked, some were laughed at, some were told they'd never make it. But they all proved one thing. Talent doesn't care where you're drafted, whether it's round 6, round 7, or not drafted at all. If you've got the drive, the fire, and the fight, the league will notice. Eventually. These are the steals that shocked the NFL, and somewhere out there, the next one is already getting slept on. Until next time, stay sharp, stay hungry, stay unscripted.